morning. It is a bitter -8 degrees out here in Midwest Wisconsin. They've got lots of snow, and I'm a bit nervous. I'm getting my first horse as an adult, and my first, I think he's pretty much unbroke. So a bit of a challenge for me here, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I haven't named him yet with his barn name. His barn name currently is Pistol, and I think I'm going to be changing that. So yeah, come along in this bitter cold. Well, luckily he's only traveling a couple miles this morning. He's just down the road, and I'm boarding him this winter. It's where I grew up riding. So I'm excited to be back and working out of this facility and hanging out with some old friends of mine, some family. I'm related to the owners here. This is the family farm. So anyway, looking forward to it. Come along with me. Let's wait for him to get here. I didn't get a chance to film him unloading and putting him in this indoor arena or anything. He was pretty sweaty from being in the trailer and being loaded up. And so getting him sent over here, he was a little sassy and worked up from the whole ordeal, tossing his head there, and not really sure where he is or what's going on. I don't think he was super happy about being in a new location. It was all just new to him. He'd been at one farm his whole life up to this point, other than a couple months at a trainer where he flunked out of the training and had an injury. So switching him over from a regular nylon halter to the hybrid halter, I've since decided that the hybrid halter isn't a good fit for me when starting a horse, just because there's a delayed response in putting the pressure onto the horse's nose. But I still like the hybrid halter. I think it's a good fit for some horses, but I haven't been using it recently. And I'm doing this voiceover a couple months later, so apologies. It's been kind of a crazy spring for us here. So it's actually May when I'm recording this. So lots of progress has been made. This was originally filmed back in the end of January. Oof, has it been that long already? Jeez Louise. Well, anyway, first things first, see if they can yield their hind quarters. What you're looking for is for that back left foot to cross over the back right foot, just like you see there. Their powerhouse is in the hind end, and if you can control where their feet are going, you can control them. So you always want to be the one asking them where to move which foot, and that's the basis of horsemanship in a lot of ways. I'm definitely not an expert by any means. I am not a professional. I am an idiot. I am learning, and come learn with me through this process. My main goal for that day was to get him thinking a little bit, using his brain, and calming down and being comfortable in his surroundings. So did a lot of just asking him to walk off calmly, see what he knew in an arena. When I went to look at him to buy him, they didn't have a good spot for us to do a whole lot with him because of the amount of snowfall they had this year. It was record snowfalls. That their pulling ended up being quite a bad habit that we had to break him of. He only does it the one direction, and obviously came with that bad habit. The purpose of the flag, I like both the flag and the candy stick. The other riders at the farm there use the candy stick more, so I've switched to using that just so it's more consistent. I do like the flag. It is something that's very visible. As long as you're consistent with your tools and consistent with the messaging that you're sending and the exact same movement every single time, that movement can then become your cue. So even something as simple as shifting your weight, the horses notice that, and that's like the coolest thing about horses. I heard a cowboy once say that his favorite thing about a horse was the fact that they can feel a mosquito land on them in a windstorm. That's how sensitive they are, and they notice literally every single movement that you make. And if you make that movement mean something, you can communicate to them over the slightest little movements. When you're up in the saddle, they can feel you tip your head. And if you do the exact same head tip every single time before you ask them to do something, pretty soon all you need to do is tip your head and they'll do that action, which is mind-blowing of the amount of power and dedication that you can get from a horse. And you can ask them to do it by tipping your head. You just need to be so in control over your emotions and your movements to make that happen. And if you study horse psychology and how the horses interact with each other, and you become and communicate with them with their language, is the best way, in my opinion, to start that conversation with a horse. We can't talk with horses. I'm not that kind of person, but they watch us, they understand us, they watch our body movement, and they communicate so much more through body language than noises versus humans. We're verbal. And they definitely will learn tone, and like at this point, I've named him. His name is Newt, and Newt knows canter, and if you say it like that, he will start cantering. And obviously ho is to stop. But because ho rhymes with no, you can teach a horse the word no, but then they're going to have a hard time with the word ho. And so things like that you need to be aware of when you're working with horses. So another really important thing about that you need to keep in mind when you're working with horses is that the release of pressure is what they learn from, and when your timing and the feel of how much pressure you put on, when you put it on, and then when you make that pressure disappear is the basis of training or working with a horse in general. So correcting them when they do something wrong, but understanding their intention. Are they trying, and is there try in there and they just don't understand? Or are they doing something to be naughty and misbehave and challenge you? So that can be a really fine line if you aren't familiar with working with horses. And like I said before, I am not an expert. I am not a pro at this. I'm learning. And working with a young horse like this is completely new to me. So he is a 3-year-old quarter horse gelding, and he's registered with the American Quarter Horse Association, and he came out of a stud that is a champion roping horse, and a mare that is a pleasure horse. So much different builds and 2 different body types there. And he was originally bred and raised to become a versatility ranch horse through the AQHA showing circuit. So he had flunked out of that and was up for sale, and I don't know, I thought it was a good idea to get a young horse. I wanted to learn and expand my knowledge and have the experience of helping develop a young quarter horse. So far I'm really enjoying it. Some things have been more challenging than what I thought they would be, and other things have gone extremely smooth. So I do have some more film recorded to put up a couple more videos of this journey so far this spring. I haven't been super good at filming very many things, just because I've been busy with other things, and I don't know. It's fun though to look back on this footage from the first day that I got him and see some of his behaviors that were present then that have turned out to be something that stuck with him and have been challenging, and some things that it's like, oh yeah, that he was good from that, or about that from day one, or see some of the things that we struggled with on the first day that we've overcome. So really cool. He's a very curious horse. He's very friendly, and I really like that about him. He has a good attitude. He doesn't normally blow up about a whole lot of things. He is pretty easygoing, but also very intelligent, smart, and very, very curious, as you can see here with the tarp, how much he really does want to check that out, but is not necessarily sure about it. So I hope you enjoyed watching along. Really, this is more for me than it is for you. So if you stuck around and watched for this 11.5 minutes, thanks. We'll catch you next time. Bye. He doesn't seem too bothered by those two.
Oh, he's doing better now.
Yeah.